I've been running the road since '08. Started with a beat-up Freightliner haul and dry van for a small outfit out of Tulsa, worked my way up to pulling reefer from one of the big carriers, the ones with the bright yellow paint and the three-letter name, and then settled into dedicated flatbed. 15 years. That's 1.8 million miles minimum. You spend that kind of time seeing the country through a windshield, you start to think you've got the measure of it. You see the accidents, the storms that snap trees like matchsticks, the weirdos at the truck stops, the ghosts on the shoulder. You learn to trust your gut when a load feels heavy or a back road smells wrong. I thought I'd seen it all. Truly. I'd scraped black ice on I-80 in Wyoming, been trapped in a 4-day blizzard in Flagstaff, and that my tires shot out by some idiot with a hunting rifle near Spokane. Nothing ever felt unnatural. Nothing I couldn't explain with physics, stupidity, or bad luck. That changed in the late fall of 2021. I was running a specialized haul, 3 oversized aluminum molds for an aerospace contractor, strapped down tight on a 48-foot lowboy. Origin was a fabrication plant in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Destination was Renton, Washington. It was a hell of a run. 48 hours to get the placards and permits organized, and then straight through 2 solid days on the logbook. The time of year was late October. The air was already biting when the sun went down. The route took me west on I-94 through Chicago, skirt the bottom of Wisconsin up through Minnesota, and then the long, desolate haul across North Dakota and Montana on I-94, which would eventually dump me onto I-90. The trouble started subtle-like when I hit Montana. It was just past midnight, about 20 miles east of Glendive. I dropped down from 194 onto a 2-lane U.S. highway, a cut-across I'd done before to avoid a way station I knew was closed anyway. I was clocking 62 miles per hour. My Jake brake was off, and the only sound was the drone to the 13-liter engine and the high-pitched whine of the reefer unit running on continuous. Even though I was hauling aluminum, the contracts insisted on climate control. The moon was maybe half full, but the sky was choked with fast-moving low clouds. It was one of those nights where the headlights didn't seem to cut through the dark. They just stirred it up. The first thing that felt wrong was the chatter on the CB. Channel 19, the standard hauler channel, was dead quiet. That's not normal, not even at 1 a.m. in the middle of nowhere. Usually you've got someone complaining about a four-wheeler, asking for a smoke report, or running a line of trash talk. I clicked the mic, just to make sure the unit was alive. Any smokies on US 12 westbound past mile marker 248? Got the hammer down, looking for a clear path. Breaker 19. Static. Nothing. Like I was running completely alone on a ghost frequency. I checked the squelch, flicked the power on and off. Still nothing but the hiss. Okay, maybe a localized signal blackout. It happens. I passed a 24-hour convenience store, the only building for miles. The parking lot was empty. Empty. Usually there's at least one rig parked up for the night, a rocking chair cowboy catching a nap. This place was usually buzzing. Now all the lights were on, the fluorescent glow of the gas pumps, and a sign saying open 24 hours, but the place was deserted. It looked like the crew had just walked out mid-shift. I decided to fuel at the next major stop near Forsyth. I logged the stop and the fuel in my ELD and kept rolling. The clock was ticking to a critical hour. My hours of service were getting tight. I had maybe 3 hours left on my 14-hour clock before I had to shut down for 10 hours. I needed to make it to the truck stop in Billings. Then came the second sign. I was rolling through a deep valley cut by a river, the road flanked by heavy ponderosa pine forest. I glanced down at my dash. The air brake pressure gauge had dropped a few psi, maybe 5 pounds. Now, 5 pounds is nothing. Could be the altitude, could be a slight leak on the trailer brakes. It happens. But the pressure immediately started cycling. I heard the pish-pish of the air compressor kicking in, trying to build it back up. It shouldn't be doing that when I wasn't using the brakes. The pressure built back up to 125, held for 2 seconds, then dropped back to 120. Pish-pish. I put my left blinker on and pulled the big Peterbilt onto the shoulder, the wide load kicking up gravel. I set the maxis, the big red and yellow knobs, and put the truck in neutral. I grabbed my flashlight and the tire thumper. I walked the length of the trailer, checking the airlines, the glad hands, the spring brakes, everything. I even shined a light up into the belly of the flatbed. No hiss. No visible leaks. The gauge was rock solid at 125 now that I was stopped. Weird. I figured maybe the cold air was playing tricks on an old solenoid. I climbed back in, released the brakes, and rolled on. It was maybe 30 minutes later, and I was making good time. The lights of a small town, Terry, were just appearing on the horizon. I was concentrating on the ELD screen, calculating my ETA versus my remaining drive time. That's when I saw the figure. It was standing right at the edge of the paved road, where the shoulder dropped off into the scrub brush. It looked like a man, tall, maybe 6'5", wearing an oversized dark brown jacket. He was facing the trees, but as the truck approached, he slowly turned his head. My brights caught him. The light was harsh, blinding. I was on him in a second. The guy's face, it wasn't right. It was long, narrow, and had a sickly, waxy pallor like old candle wax. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was his eyes. They were huge, black, and didn't reflect the light. Not even a tiny pinprick of white or red. They were just two deep, wet pools of absolute black. He wasn't flagging me down, he wasn't holding a gas can, he was just standing there, staring directly into the windshield of my moving 80,000-pound rig. I flashed my running lights. Blink, blink. Just a warning, trying to make him move. I was too close to swerve the low boy without risking a jackknife, and hitting a pedestrian is the #1 nightmare. I braced for impact. I even honked the air horn, a long, deep blast that rattled the cab. But there was no impact. I passed the spot. I checked my mirror, automatically looking for the body, the jacket, the blood. Nothing. He was gone. I immediately looked at my side view mirror, checking the road behind me. The beam of the trailer light stretched back down the black asphalt. Nothing. No jacket, no body, no movement. He couldn't have jumped that far into the ditch in the split second I passed him. My heart was hammering against my ribs. My palms were sweating on the wheel. I hit the mic again. Breaker 19, any rigs westbound near Terry, Montana, did you see that? I just passed a walker on the shoulder. Did anybody see that black-eyed joker? Nothing. Still the hiss. I was starting to think I was fatigued, hitting a wall, imagining things. I checked my logbook. 12 hours and 40 minutes into my shift. Close, but not pushing that hard. I grabbed a cold coffee from the fridge, chugged it, and told myself it was road hypnosis. I finally made it to Billings and parked the rig at a well-lit Flying J. The time was 3:38 a.m. I officially logged off duty and put my 10-hour reset into the ELD. I didn't even drop the sleeper curtains. I just sat there, looking out at the rows of parked trucks, every one of them a big, steel, comforting sign of reality. I tried the CB again. Loud, clear chatter. Two guys arguing about the price of diesel. Relief. I managed to sleep maybe 5 hours. The image with those eyes kept snapping me awake. When I started rolling again that afternoon, everything was normal. The sun was out, the air pressure was fine, and the CB was alive. I told the guy pulling an open deck heading east about the walker I saw. He said, "Welcome to Montana, brother. The land of the deer, the antelope, and the ghosts. Keep the hammer down." I put it out of my mind, just a weird encounter. I drove all day across Montana, into Idaho, and was heading into Washington State. I was up on I-90 nearing Spokane. It was dark again, around 11:30 p.m. I got a call on the company call come. It was my dispatcher, Mike. "Handle 33 Charlie, where you at?" "I'm 30 miles east of Spokane, Mike. Looks like I hit the yard about 0800 tomorrow, well within my clock." "Good. Listen, 33, we got a problem. The destination address changed. The customer moved the delivery point. It's no longer the Renton yard." "What?" "Renton's the main aerospace depot. Where the hell did they move it?" "It's a secondary facility. It's way out. They want you to divert south, take US 95 through Idaho, cut into Oregon, and deliver it to a storage yard way out near the Deschutes Mountain Forest. The coordinates are on the ELD now. It's an extra 350 miles. I argued. I'd lose a whole day, but the load was hot. Specialized contract, I had to take the new route. The change was the twist. The moment the road changed from the busy, familiar I-90 to the dark, isolated US 95, the feeling of wrongness rushed back.
US 95 is narrow, winding, and completely devoid of traffic after midnight. It funnels you through small, dark pockets of Idaho and into the high desert of Oregon. No truck stops, just small, independent gas stations that close at 9 p.m. I was deep in Oregon, the pines towering on both sides, the air cold and thin. It was 3 a.m. I checked my ELD for the coordinates. The new destination was an unmarked dirt road, 18 miles past the town of Spray. As I took the turn off the highway, the gravel crunched under the tires. The road was barely maintained, just 2 ruts in the dirt. I had to slow the rig down to 10 miles per hour to keep the aluminum molds from bouncing off the flatbed. Then I saw the lights. Up ahead, maybe a quarter mile down the dirt track, there was a small cluster of lights. Not street lights, not house lights, just 2 sets of headlights, one small, one large, parked facing each other. I stopped the truck and killed the engine. It was dead silent. I could hear the tink-tink-tink of the cooling engine block. I grabbed the CB mic, remembering the silence from before. "Breaker 19, you out there? I'm on a service road off US 95, delivering a special load. You guys waiting for me?" Only the hiss. The signal was dead again. Local blackout. I got out of the cab. The air was dry, cold, and smelled like pine and ancient dust. I started walking toward the lights, my flashlight beam cutting through the dark. The 2 vehicles were a small, beat-up white sedan, the kind of car a dispatcher would drive, and a standard box van trailer unhooked from any tractor. The van was one of the local delivery companies. The driver of the sedan was leaning against his car, arms crossed. I shined my light on him. He was a small, thin man in a company vest. "You must be the flatbed. The load goes in the box." "In the box? These are 3 aerospace molds, buddy. They weigh a combined 30,000 pounds. My crane operator is supposed to meet me here to offload them." The plan changed. We're hand-loading them. I didn't need to be a veteran to know that was impossible. "Look, I'm logging off duty. I'm calling my dispatcher and I'm waiting for the crane. This is a 5-hour job." The thin man didn't move. He just looked past my shoulder into the dark forest. I said we're hand-loading them. I felt the hackles rise on my neck. I looked past him into the darkness of the box van. There was something in there, just shadows at the back of the trailer. And then I saw it. Parked just behind the box van was a 3rd vehicle. It was a faded dark brown pickup truck, idling, and standing next to the pickup was a tall, hunched figure. The figure turned its head toward my flashlight. The light hit the face. It was long, narrow, waxy, and the eyes, the same 2 deep, wet, bottomless pools of absolute black, the walker from Montana. My heart stopped and kicked into overdrive. I didn't think about the load, the job, or the coordinates. I thought about the sheer impossible distance between eastern Montana and central Oregon. I thought about the speed it must have traveled to get here before me. I sprinted back to the Peterbilt. The sedan driver yelled something, but I was already scrambling up into the cab. I slammed the door, flipped the ignition, and the engine roared to life. I jammed the gear shift into first and released the Maxis. The sound of the air escaping from the brakes, the psh, was immediately followed by the air compressor pish-pishing again, but this time the pressure wasn't dropping 5 psi, it was dropping 15 psi. The air pressure gauge was cycling violently down, 125, 110, 95. I had no time. I pulled the steering wheel hard right, smashing through the brush, ignoring the dirt road. The truck was a beast. It shuddered but kept moving. I reached the main highway, US 95, and slammed the accelerator to the floor. I looked in the side mirror. The tall figure was no longer by the brown truck. It was standing on the gravel shoulder, right where the dirt road met the pavement, and it was staring at my taillights. I looked down at my gauge. 50 psi. The system was losing air pressure too fast. The air brakes would lock up completely when the pressure dropped below 40.
I kept the hammer down, running the speed limit and then some, desperately trying to put distance between myself and that place. I was 40 miles down the road when the pressure finally bottomed out. 35 psi. The brakes locked up, the rig shuddered violently, and I wrestled the 80,000-pound beast to a complete stop on the shoulder. I sat there, breathing hard, the engine idling. I waited for the sounds of tires, of movement, of anything. Nothing. Just the wind and the high-pitched whine of the reefer unit. I sat there for 4 hours until the sun came up. I finally called the dispatcher on my cell phone. Mike was confused. The coordinates hadn't changed.
The load was always supposed to go to Renton. He hadn't called me. He said my ELD showed I had driven 350 miles off route deep into Oregon and logged a 10-hour reset. But I only got 5 hours of sleep. My logbook was a mess. I had to get the rig towed back to a yard to have the entire air system rebuilt. The mechanics couldn't figure it out. All the lines were intact, but the main reservoir tank was completely drained and the secondary line was frozen solid. I quit that company a week later. I sold the Peterbilt. I only drive local now. Drive van. No overnights. Never more than 150 miles from home. I won't drive in Oregon, and I won't take a flatbed load, ever. And I never ever travel US 95 or run the road when the CB is dead quiet. That silence, I know now, isn't a signal problem. It's a warning. It's what happens when something else is listening. Sometimes, when I'm sitting at a red light, I catch a flicker of motion in my peripheral vision. I look over, and for a split second, a face is right there, at the passenger window. Long, waxy, narrow. And I always check the side view mirror, looking for those impossible, black, bottomless eyes just standing there on the side of the road, waiting for a rig to pass by. Why did they need the molds? Why go through all that, all the distance, all the lies, just to hand-load a heavy haul into an empty box van on a dirt road? What the hell was in that box?